You're listening to Raising Anchor on 990 WBOB. Welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey. Your home for news, analysis, and everything Rhode Island FC. Each week, they take you inside the locker room, inside the tactics, and inside the storyline shaping RIFC. Now, here's Matt and Jason. Rhode Island FC fall to the Birmingham Legion, losing 1-0 and snapping a 2-game win streak after thunderstorms delayed the game to the following day. Was this a result, and was this a sign of the team not being ready to be home playoff contenders? Was this a team not prepared to have to move their game day antics, tactics, and shenanigans to a Sunday? Or is this a case where Jay Heaps just simply has Khano Smith's number, and this is the case of one mistake being capitalized on, which allowed Birmingham to advance? Jason, we're going to talk about that so much. Of course, Mr. Carey, the co-host with the most. I'm Matt Entrican, your other co-host. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm trying not to let the results of my sports team bring me down.
People have complained all day. I posted the result late because last night was Sunday. We were out on the rail trail in Cape Cod. So I did the results GIF, whatever. I don't care. We did it for today. And people were like, way to ruin my Monday. My Sunday was already ruined. Now my Monday also ruined. Is your Monday ruined?
Absolutely not. The thunder rolled, but the lightning did not strike for RFC.
Gosh, hashtag not a Garth Brooks podcast, everyone. We're already off the rails. And I just talked about rail trails.
It was a great rail trail. But as we tie this back to the larger picture, the global game, we're back. We're so back.
Game is back.
We are so back.
Game is no longer gone, everyone. The game is back.
So apparently bullying works, right? Everyone was like, yo, Infantino. No. And so FIFA has backed down on their plan to sell off the World Cup for parts. So
I love it. I definitely don't hate it. The real question is, it starts, of course, with UEFA, the 55 leagues, making up UEFA unanimously saying, hey, we're not going to allow this, Infantino. We're not going to allow you to ruin the game. I saw CONCACAF statement. I don't think I've seen CONMEBOL's yet. Have they released a statement?
They were waiting to see who won. But I'm actually very proud that CONCACAF joined in, because I felt if any region was going to be corrupt, it was going to be CONCACAF.
To call a spade a spade. I don't hate it. In fact, I've already made 2 jokes at your expense where you've been neutral on some discussions since the announcement of the reversal of Infantino's plan around Switzerland. Because if you think about Switzerland, part of UEFA, right? They had to cast a vote. There's that running joke out there amongst society that like, oh, I'm neutral like Switzerland. Switzerland's no longer neutral, everyone. You're going to have to be ready to be an active contributing like Switzerland. So when you see someone that says, I'm on the fence, you can no longer say you're Switzy.
I think after the game against Argentina, Switzerland is no longer neutral.
Fair enough. All right, question for you. Does Infantino, I asked you last week, does this level of treachery match Sepp Blatter? And you said we're not there yet. But now with all of the fallout here, does Infantino even survive? I know his vote for presidency is in 2027. Is there like rules for impeachment? Because his COO, several other members of the board were like, we weren't even prepared for this. Does Infantino even last to the end of the year now as president of FIFA?
So I look at this, I'm like, I'm not sure he does. So England announced the other day that they actually have rescinded their vote for Infantino. So is this kind of a situation where a Senate has a vote of no confidence?
Are you Ahmed Pamadala?
But so like the thing that I struggle to deal with is that do we just instill do we call no confidence on Infantino
and just install Infantino Senator Palpatine? Is that where you're going with this at this point?
Well, no.
Is he the Dark Lord of the soccer set?
We think that Infantino is the devil, but we call for no confidence, and then we just put in an Emperor Palpatine, and things just get worse. Like, is there any hope for us as fans of this sport that we love
There's
that
no hope.
there can be anything better?
The league, the cup is expanding. The countries are expanding. At some point, this is just going to
The
be
universe is
money.
expanding. It's just
You must construct additional pylons. Moving on. I don't know. I really do. I genuinely don't know if Infantino survives this. But you know who did survive? Another last name ending in O, and that is one Mauricio Pochettino, back with U.S. men's national team. Do we think this was the right move?
so. Do you know that in the short time that he's been with us, he's achieved the most World Cup wins out of any USMNT manager? That is an absolutely insane
Where was
statement
Bruce?
to say.
The fact that like Bruce Arena was even at risk of losing this title is wild to me. Like you would always just think Bruce Arena at the tippity top of the mountain. Pochettino comes in for what, 2 years? Because he didn't even get a full 4 years, right?
I don't think so. No.
2 years. And some have argued, I've seen it online, like, oh, well, US has never had an easier advancement through the rounds based on both the group stage and then the first round with Bosnia and Herzegovina.
But like, USMNT beat Bosnia and Herzegovina. They had to play two nations at the same time, and they still came out victorious. Like, it's not something you would normally attribute to the men's national team.
It's not a tale the Jedi would tell you. We're going to keep running.
Absolutely
not.
not. It's not a tale they would tell you. So, honestly, I think there was a very impressive run from this team, and I'm hopeful that I have a new hope at this point that they can move on.
Hashtag not a Star Wars show.
And kind of like accomplish good things, right? At this point, like I think that there's something there. I think what's very important though, and I saw this online, I'm gonna steal this from someone else. At 2028 though, if it's not going well, we need to pull the ripcord like hard. Like we need to realize like, hey, was this just like fuck it? This was a flash in the pan, was this lightning in a bottle, or was this something else?
Who knows? You know what I was really excited for and then got immediately disappointed? That Andre Pirlo was about to be the Italian men's national coach. And then
they actually did pull the ripcord, and the entire like Italian FA just imploded.
Yeah. Because like at that point, you've basically made the announcement. It's like almost at like the Romano, like, here we go announcement point. And then it doesn't happen. And then there's like, then you see the internal politics of it. And it's like, oh, I know that we don't have enough soccer pedigree or legacy to get there yet, but still chaos. I mean, Italy desperately needs to get back in, whether they expand to 69 teams or not. I don't know what the new number is going to be, but
will they make it? Who knows?
Could you imagine Italy not making it with an expanded format, in addition to the already expanded format? I don't know. We got to move on.
In our lifetime, will we see them? Who knows?
Clay Holstead, everybody, gets his first minutes in the MLS, making his debut appearance for FC Dallas. Jason, I was just excited because I knew how many fans for Rhode Island FC enjoying the fact that Clay Holstead was reaching the pinnacle of North American soccer. And the best part about it is we probably had, for the first time ever, more people watching an LA Galaxy game in Rhode Island other than just the two of us. Different reasons, different stakes, of course, but you know, he making his substitution appearance in the 79th minute. Only 11 minutes regular time and some garbage time after that. It's a 0-0 draw. I did watch it. Clay Holstead didn't look bad, didn't do anything great, did exactly what you needed to do. And what was the best part is in the Discord on the night, people already connecting the dots that the entire midfield line of Dallas, all on yellow cards in the first half, going, at some point from a game management perspective, you're gonna need your subs in there just because you can't go down to 10 men. It was almost like it was divine providence that they were gonna see Clay Holstead into this game because of just that fact alone.
It's not lost on me that Galaxy also just signed a Japanese player who also debuted upon the weekend. And I'd argue that both of these games, and we'll get into this a little bit later, probably should have ended up in a 0-0. Only one of them did. Only one of them. A spoiler alert, only one of these matches did. But
hey, when you're a CM/holding midfielder and your name is Clay Holstead and you're making your debut for FC Dallas and you hold the LA Galaxy and Marco Royce to a 0-0, we know who's better. I even did it. I posted it in FC Dallas's Instagram. Clay Holstead, better than Marco Royce. Take that to the bank, everyone. I cannot wait to see what Clay Holstead does for the remainder of the season for FC Dallas. I'm so excited. I can't just wish nothing but success upon
the
him.
fact that he got to start this early means that Eric Quill has him in his plans.
And who is Eric Quill from? Where's he from?
And the fact that Eric Quill, the ex-manager of New Mexico United, who is now moved up.
I want to say something sensational, like New Mexico United was going to steal Clay Holstead last year if Eric Quill didn't move on. Of course, that's not true, but it'd be fun to say Eric Quill had him dead to rights. He knew he wanted a Holstead in his life sooner than any of us ever knew that.
I mean, maybe when he saw him on some sort of
You mean when we lost 2-1 in the last game of the season last year?
He wasn't the mayor at the time, right?
Yeah, he was.
I thought he moved on already.
No, that was his last season, and then Dennis Sanchez took over this season. I mean, I could be wrong.
Potato. Anyways, I was tying back to the opening match. He saw him, and he's like, I need that guy. And he stole him away.
Greatness wishes other greatness. I know Clay Holstead was not wanted to be left and move on from Rhode Island FC, and yet here we are now feeling his absence because, Jason, not all things are right with Rhode Island FC right now. Birmingham Legion somehow does the impossible, wins the sweep against us, to talk baseball terms, now bested us in the only two competitions we will see each other in regular league play. I'm not happy about it. I know fans aren't happy about it. Fans are confused. Lots of mailbag questions for the end segment tonight on how this is happening. How does Birmingham Legion, a team, mind you, historically, we have bested time and time again, how have they gone and blanked us in such a fashion? And let alone not tonight or last night, but then also winning that earlier game. How are we walking away from this knowing that we got 0 points out of an Alabama side that, I will remind everyone, is in the bottom, below the playoffs, and not doing so well when it comes to their performances on the season? What's going on here, my friend?
I have no idea what's going on. But at this point, we're going to take a quick break here and look at how RFC prepared against this match. So don't go anywhere. It's the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Thank you for listening to tonight's broadcast, powered by Sprout Coworking. For all your business needs, large or small, visit sproutcoworking.com. Powering 990 WBOB, that's sproutcoworking.com.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right, back here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Like we were saying, in the standings, Rhode Island FC now falling to 7th place here on a 6-4-6 record, tied on 22 points with the Miami FC. But of course, they have the tiebreaker right now, Jason, and I know you hate this because of the way the championship does tiebreakers. They get it not only because Miami has the better record individually against us, but it's also down to Eastern Conference opponents. It's a silly thing, but yet here we are falling when we haven't even given up points because Miami just got back to neutral with us.
I really hate it because I opened up FOTMob and I saw that we were in 7th. And I'm like, okay, let me actually go check the USL Championship because we're tied on points to see if this is actually true, because we all know that FOTMob does not respect the USL Championship's tiebreakers.
Do you think the championship does all these proprietary tiebreakers so that you have to drive traffic to the USL Championship website? You can't rely on FOTMob. You can't even rely on Google, because if you really want the actual accuracy, do you think they do all this just to drive them to their website?
Brett Lowy, is this true? Let us know.
Brett Lowy is not going to answer any questions anytime soon from anybody after
what's recently happened. Yeah.
Sorry. Scandal, everyone.
Huge scandal. But yeah, I went and checked out. Unfortunately, the reality is we did drop to 7. You hate to see it. But we're going to keep driving this home until it is no longer a reality. We still have some games in hand.
Man, that story is either we are putting we're putting everything into these 2 games in hand.
Those games in hand are doing a lot of work for us right now.
So much work. So much work. let's talk about how Khano set this up. We talked at the preview show that he didn't have a lot of options. Looking at the availability report, with Leo Afonso, Zach Harivo, and Karifa Yao out amongst the others that we will no longer say out loud. The big surprises, I think, for us when we saw the initial lineup come out Saturday, Afonso still out, as well as Karifa, kind of starting to get into that worry mode of like, well, what exactly is going on here? Haven't even seen what might have put Afonso to any kind of inactivation list. We know about the Karifa Yao injury in Hartford's match. We had enough center backs in this match. Maybe it didn't work out to our favors as CJ Williams, Hamidi Diop returned to the squad. Okay, we have enough depth there, but Leo Afonso's still out. Big questions around Sukata and Foyo now coming in. Was this going to be enough? And now we start to think and go, hey, like, where is the player health? Where is the player availability for these things? And how does that look?
Yeah, taking a look here at the lineup, we've got Koke Vegas in net, Nick Scardina, Grant Stoneman, Frank Nodarce, and Aldair Sanchez as your back four, with AST and Hugo Bacharach there as your holding midfielders, Jose Quezera, Piti Rodriguez, Noah Fison, and JJ Williams up top. Same lineup. And I don't know if we've mentioned this here, but this game actually got delayed to Sunday after Saturday being thunderstormed out.
The future betting, like Kalshi and all those platforms, I asked online, like, hey, if a squad has been announced for a starting 11 and then it just gets delayed by a day, are they required to play the same 11s that they reported in the day before? Because those players are all available. They didn't do anything that would cause injury. They're not sick.
Charlie Horse is in the
are
hotel.
You required to play the same starting 11? A couple people said, well, if a game's canceled, no matter what, you can reset. Would it have been diabolical if Khano Smith, not that there's enough depth on this roster right now, but like said, okay, now that you thought you knew what I was going to construct on this game, I'm going to play the ultimate 4D chess here, and I'm going to put Dwayne Atkinson back in as a deep six. You're never going to see this coming, and just completely change the dynamic of whatever Jay Heaps was preparing for on the night.
There is something to attribute to like that kind of randomness, like throwing the dice at an opponent to kind of keep them guessing. But at the end of the day, if neither of the two teams played, they don't exactly know what the other is thinking, right? They're keeping their cards close to their chest, if you will.
I don't know. Jay Heaps probably knew exactly what Khano Smith was going to do because of the lack of players we have.
Yeah, and I mean, in hindsight, the score, it is what it is. But like, do you think there's any changes here that Khano could have made to really like kind of affect the match? I mean, Yao and Afonso are still out. Like, there's not a lot of options.
Kevin Vang starting could have been the variable that nobody was prepared for. I mean, he played in this game. I don't know how we feel about that. In fact, let's talk about Kevin Vang. He comes in very late into this match, and lots of people, I remember sending me texts, sending me DMs. I'm like, Coach Khano Smith putting Kevin Vang into this game when we are behind, is that a sign of a new level of confidence in Kevin Vang to make an impact on this game? Or is this Khano Smith acknowledging that everything is out of his control, nothing is going to be accomplished, and let's just get Vang some minutes because he's so depleted from a roster standpoint? Which side of that narrative do you subscribe to?
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I almost wonder if it's him being a gambling man. If it's him rolling the dice.
You're telling me Khano Smith is gambling that Kevin Vang can do something different that Noah Fuson was not capable of? Because that was the swap in the 90th minute. You're telling me that he was like, Kevin Vang is offering something that Noah Fuson is not right now.
I mean, if we're being fair to Kevin Vang, I mean, Noah Fuson is kind of not being the same player that he's been for a long time.
Don't disagree with that. However, that being said, Noah Fuson had looks on the night. I mean, it did not work out on the match.
Had a fantastic shot on target that made for a great save for their keeper. But outside of that, like I struggle to see how he's currently making our attack better.
Okay, and that's fair. But then you could still argue at Noah Fuson's worst, it still should be better than Kevin Vang's best.
And so that's where you roll the dice. You think that you give a quote unquote lesser player an opportunity to shine and hope that he rises to the occasion. Maybe he gives you 111%, right? Instead of 100. And it just kind of creates an opportunity that maybe the predictability of having a player like Fuson has like detracted from our attack. You throw someone else in there and just kind of see what happens.
That's completely fair. Sukada makes his debut. We announced it earlier in the week that he had signed as a loanee from Orlando City, comes in the 70th minute. Did we see enough yet to even get an idea of the type of player he's going to be for this team? Or he's coming in after Rhode Island's already chasing the game? Did we get a fair first look at Sukada?
We know that this team struggles as their entire identity. They struggle chasing games, and to throw him in there when we're behind, I don't think is a fair way to view him. So I really don't think that we can look at this as an opportunity and say this is who he is. I think we're going to need to have a few more matches to really get a good idea of what Sukada brings to us as a player.
You know what Sukada did not earn on the night, and that was yellow cards. Bit of a surprise, Danny Rivera making another appearance for the squad, and also Dwayne Atkinson coming into the match, both of them getting yellow cards. And the surprise here to me was Danny Rivera gets a yellow for his very first foul of the game. It didn't look like enough to be booked on a one single incidental challenge. It looked like this was more of a Rhode Island has been accumulating enough, moments of contact, enough fouls to someone needed to get the yellow card. But then you go back and look at the game management for this game, and Birmingham Legion escape with no yellow cards outside of time wasting. And you kind of have to start asking yourself, I mean, I saw the egregious foul against JJ late in the game, and it's like, was that fair? I think Dwayne Atkinson's foul was absolutely a yellow card, but like these two players making sub appearances and immediately getting booked in their time on the pitch. Overall, how were their contributions as subs on the night?
It's tough to say, and the fact that they both got yellows immediately. First off, it was nice to see Rivera actually get to play the position that we knew that he.
Nick Scardina had such a bad game. I mean, truly think about this. He had a rough first 3-4 games, right? He was getting substituted off, but he wasn't getting substituted. Rivera wasn't even making the 18-man roster. Now with our depletion, Rivera's in there. Nick Scardina had such a poor game that he was one of Khano's like, I got to get this guy off the pitch. He's been almost the most consistent player from the back line. We've been giving all our flowers to Frank Nadarse lately because of all the things he's been doing and making noise. But like Scardina's been the steady guy on that back line. He gets ripped.
Is this him just regressing to the mean?
I don't think so. I think this game had so many other outliers. I do not think this is a reflection on Scardina. I think this is a reflection on one particular player off the back line. I think Sanchez had a pretty poor game as well. And it was more of a link-up failure between him and Fuson, Quizera, and him trying to figure some identity out. I think there was a lot on the wings that was left to be desired, but this was probably Scardina's worst performance since his fourth appearance for Rhode Island FC, in my opinion. But a lot of players on the night had a rough show of things.
I mean, I think that's fair, but like, it's hard for me to look at that one specific player and think that like he's the reason that, RFC maybe didn't get the result that they wanted to on the night.
We all know the player, which is why they didn't get a result on the night. He rhymes with pant cone stan.
Cone man,
yeah. And we'll talk about that in the next segment. But like, it's surprising to see Nick Scardina fall out. I don't know if that was because, again, no Afonso, Fuson lacking, too much effort. I mean, Jose didn't have a really good game either. And really no player had a good game, despite the fact, Jason, that Rhode Island was in the driver's seat for the first half of this match. Like, we talked about this so many times. Like, when Rhode Island fails to be clinical, when they fail to finish chances, when they fail to put the game away, teams can creep up and surprise them and shock them. You look at like the total all possession, 55% to Rhode Island, a team that should never want that much of the ball, in my opinion. But look at the bigger stats: 20 shots on target, or excuse me, 20 shots, 6 on target. They were peppering Birmingham in the first half. 14 of those 20 shots, 4 of them on target, coming from the first half. This was a team that was trying to go out, punch Birmingham in the mouth, get ahead, and set the tone in the game. Couldn't get it done in the first half. And then we see the resurgence from Birmingham. They come back in the second half of that match. Keep in mind, again, just 9 total shots from Birmingham. And guess what? 6 of them coming in the second half of this game. You've got to find a way, when you get to look dangerous, you be dangerous, and you put this where it needs to go. And that's a goal. That's the soccer ball in the goal. It's not that complicated. Unfortunately, Rhode Island struggles. They fail to get that done in the first half, and then some hijinks and some shenanigans by one Grant Stoneman in a miscommunication, a mistiming. I'm not quite sure. We've talked at length about the dangers of seeing Koke Vegas be that free range sweeper keeper, and this may have punished us more than anything ever. And we see Birmingham with the go ahead, which would be the only goal of the game, and give them all 3 points. You hate to see a team that's that dominant, that successful in everything that it counts except for a goal, not see at least 1 point, let alone 3 on the night.
Yeah, it's not the way we expected this match to pan out.
But maybe it was the way we deserved it to go.
Maybe it's the way we deserved it.
We've got to go to our next break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the biggest storylines out of this match between Birmingham Legion and Rhode Island FC. Don't go anywhere. It's the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Fans, as the weather becomes more and more unpredictable, be sure to check out 990 WBOB's weather page for all your temperature, storm, and travel info. Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store with the 990 WBOB weather page.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
Back here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show, got to talk about the 3-win streak that was never meant to be, now out of reach. Is there any other point in the season do you think we're going to be able to string 3 wins together, other than when it's going to count, which could be an away leg in the actual postseason? Is there a moment in this schedule now that makes you feel like, okay, that's where we're gonna get those next 3 wins strung together? Because right now, Jason, remember, hasn't happened since 2024. Did not happen in 2025. Is there a place where you're feeling comfortable schedule-wise where we can get this done?
Not after this match. It's
oh no, glass half empty over here, everyone.
I'm not saying that this team is still not a playoff team, but this is one of those matches where the team really needs to lock in and get a result. Right? We look back at this and think, could have easily been a 0-0 draw. Not the result that we wanted, but it could have kept that momentum going. It could get you 1 point. It could have kept you in 6th place in that pole position to continue to fight for the next moment. But one lapse of judgment killed the game. And it's those moments that do not let this team be a top 4 team.
There's a question in the mailbag about that. We'll talk about it in a minute. I look at it, and if there is a place where we can get 3 wins connected together, it might come in the middle of September. You've got Sporting Jacks. Hey,
there's another question in the mailbag.
I know
about
if
that
Birmingham,
too,
if Birmingham shows us one thing where we're supposed to be beating teams at the bottom of the table, we did not do that against Sporting Jacks. Can we redeem ourselves away to Sporting? I don't know. Can we put revenge on Miami for what they did to us earlier this season? Miami is like this fluke team right now where they're winning game. They're viable, but they're not contenders at the same time. But then it would be capstoned in either direction, whether you look at the bookend on the front of it with, guess what, Louisville City. Can we get revenge there? Or Charleston Battery. I know what we did in the first half of the year when they tore it here, but can we really put 4 back on Ben Pierman's squad in a second half rally into the season? I don't know, but there's no other place where I feel comfortable saying there are 3 give-me's that we could put together. There are some fierce teams we've got Pittsburgh, which I know we got our first win, but we've seen that. Hartford, which we end the season with. We've got Detroit City. There's no 3 games that I really feel comfortable that we can pull that off at this point. So it's hard to say. We don't need 3 wins to prove anything. We need to be able to make sure that we never lose 2 games in a row, I think, is the bigger standard here. So what does that say for the next game this weekend coming up against Colo Spigs? I think that's the bigger statement. But it would have been nice to have the first 3-win game streak that we have not seen yet since 2024.
Absolutely, especially with 2 of those being away. And we just challenged this team about their status as road warriors. And they showed against Pittsburgh that they can go out to a top team in the East and they can go toe-to-toe and they can get a result. And that gave a lot of us fans and pundits alike the confidence that it's the hope that kills you. And we go.
There's a listener in the mailbag that he might die if he continues to watch these games, guys.
It gave a lot of us that hope that we can build those momentum forward against a team who has really struggled this year. Like, how many wins has this team had this year?
2 of Birmingham's 3 league wins this season are at the expense of Rhode Island FC.
Like,
when you look at the teams at the
how does that even happen?
When you look at the teams at the bottom of the table right now, okay? I don't know if you know this, but the bottom 3 are Birmingham, Brooklyn, and Sporting. We've bested Brooklyn. We failed completely against the 11th place side of Birmingham Legion, and we have 1 point out of Sporting Jack. So for all of the bottom table teams combined, when you look at it, and remember, the first time we played Brooklyn, we defeated them soundly. Then we drew and had to survive on penalties in Prince Tires Cup action. It's that narrative we talked about earlier in the season. I thought we buried it. I thought we put it away, that we could beat teams below us. Maybe we can't. And I don't know what that says, trying to be in contention for a home playoff berth. I don't know what that says, trying to be a playoff caliber team. But when you do not put bad teams to bed, it's not a good look.
It's terrible. Like, you think about that and you look at it and realize, like, look, I get it. You know, we've all thrown our zombie ex-girlfriend into the basement. We've all seen Evil Dead. It's not a good place to be. You don't want to deal with that.
The thousands of children that have to listen to this show with their parents when they drive places,
they've never seen.
Never seen.
They don't know
Evil
what we're
Dead.
talking
That
about.
reference is completely.
But like, the basement is not a place to be. You understand it? You have to fight for your life to be down there. But it makes me wonder about this team sometimes. Like, why do we struggle against these bottom feeders?
Could you argue that is a sign of parity within the league? Because we love saying that, right? Like, there's no promised win. There hasn't been a promised win since Hartford in 2024, when they only got 11 points on the season and they were losing game after game, or Miami FC like getting -3 points in the entirety of their season. Do we even dare? Is that us lying to ourselves and saying, oh yeah, we lost to Birmingham twice and they're a bad team, but parity? There's parity in the league, Jason.
It's something we say to just make ourselves feel better.
That's what I'm saying, to make myself feel better.
But do you look at teams like Louisville, Charleston, and maybe not as much Pittsburgh this year, but Pittsburgh in the past, and look at them and say, do they normally lose against the bottom feeders? Usually not. They lose against the contenders who are in the top 8, who have a good day and take it to them and force them to play at a higher level that maybe they're not ready for. And so the problem is that it's consistency. And this team doesn't have that consistency to play in week in, week out at a certain level. We're so up and down.
So by that token, then, if we can still beat good teams that are in contention and we just struggle against bad teams, what does that say for us? Obviously, we have a finishing problem, I think, with 20 shots and only, 6 on target, I believe? Yeah, 6 on target, no goals to show for it. You know, last week when I was talking to you, I was worried, hey, as a Pittsburgh match, should we be deeply concerned at the dramatic drop in shots versus what we converted? Now we're back up to that standard, and it's like, okay, We put 20 in the general direction of Birmingham's net. 6 were framed and have nothing to show for it. Do we get to say that we are a good enough team to even like consider a deep playoff run right now? Like, or is this just a flash in the pan and somehow Jay Heaps has our number?
It's really hard to say because we look at this team and we think about the consistency that they may or may not have. We look at the finishing and think, okay, in a week's time, after Bad Bunny night, are we going to be talking about a different team, right? Are we going to be talking about the revenge arc where we got one over on Kolos Biggs and we said, hey,
is that what this is? Is that we only want to like stand up to teams that we like have a chip on our shoulder against, and like when we've dominated a team like Birmingham for 2 years, it's like whatever, Birmingham.
We beat them up for too long that we just let our guard down and they sucker punched us, and we're like, oh, I did not
see that coming.
I did not expect that coming, and like we don't know how to move forward from that. It's really difficult to say in regards to how this team performs because I just don't understand. But there is one thing that maybe does prevail as, you know, we look into the horizon and we continue on forward. This team has a villain. There is an enemy out there. He has showed us time and time again that he loves to score against us.
I don't even like saying his name. It's like when you see one of those like just terrible tragedies on the news and like there's such a villain that like even the news organizations say we will not say the name of this individual so that they do not get any credit or attention. And so like they just say like the perpetrator or the criminal or the alleged, you know, person. I almost don't want to say Ronaldo Demouse's name out loud.
Whenever
Lord Voldemort. Ronaldo Demouse is Lord Voldemort for Rhode Island FC at this point.
Whenever RFC think that there is a new hope, Ronaldo Demouse strikes back. And he continues to do so, and he continues to punish us. And we do not respect him. We play high lines. We throw everyone forward. And guess who attacks us time and time again?
I think that's Ronaldo Demouse. You know, fun fact about Ronaldo Demouse. Got to give credit to Tyler Hatch for pulling up before I did. 6 goals against RIFC and all comp, including a very infamous USL Cup final. The next player that has any kind of damage of that level of pedigree against us, Cal Jennings, and of course, Obregon Jr. from his time both at Brooklyn and at Westchester and at Charlotte Independence. And even then, both of those players, half what Ronaldo Demouse has done to us now. 6 goals. He has found the net 6 times against us. And we've only been in this league for 3 seasons. And I will remind you, the first year, he wasn't even in the Eastern Conference. Now, granted, we did see them twice because of the playoffs and the one appearance we had, but it's still frustrating to know that public enemy number 1 is Ronaldo Demouse. So if you're Brett Johnson right now and you're like, I need to get this guy to stop scoring against us, we purchase him next year, right? Like, even if he's not a good soccer player, we just purchase him to stop hurting us. Like, take the pawn off the board.
Oh, absolutely. You go out there, you capture him, you put him on the bench, and you just...
Sorry, Demouse, you're going to rot here because we would rather have you sit next to Kevin Vang on the 18-man roster than to put another goal or potentially even more against us in a single season. You hate to see it, but nevertheless, here we are. Going to ask this before we go to break. At this point, is this just a fluke game and we need to move on and get past it? Or is this a desperate sign that we either need our players back to full strength or we need more reinforcements?
Depending on what happens this next weekend will tell me whether or not this is something of a bigger problem. I look at this game and I take a deep breath and I say, with a really poor defensive action notwithstanding, this could have been a 0-0 game. I don't think that they threatened us enough to really make us challenge like the score. Like we're clearly frustrated. We're angry because we felt that RAFC are on the up and up and that they should have gone out there and capitalized on this game. They had a dominant first half. they came out flat the second half and just kind of shot themselves in the foot and didn't know how to get back into the game. But we should have walked away with a point and maintained a 6th place position.
People asking probably in their minds right now, like, why haven't we talked about the mistake that led to the goal yet? Well, guess what? It's like 17 of your questions in the mailbag. So we're just going to save the Grant Stoneman bungle, or maybe the Coke Vegas bungle. We don't quite yet know. We'll talk about it all here on the mailbag when we return on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
Right, back here now. We're going to start with an old topic because this is still new news to some people. Braden R. asks, late to the Kawhi Leonard news, do you think long-term this will hurt RFC and the USL?
What is dead may never die. I look at this and I've already seen that to a certain extent, the media has kind of moved on.
For now.
I
remind everyone, Governor Dan McKee is still in office, so we will hear this on repeat for the next 2 months at a minimum.
Yeah, it may not be a day-to-day thing, but it will get brought up time and time again in this election cycle. So I do not expect that this is the last that we've heard of this, but I don't see in any way, shape, or form this hurting RFC or the USL. This is very much a more local political kind of thing that we as Rhode Islanders have to deal with.
Yeah, I think right now any attention to the team is at least talking. More people know about a Rhode Island FC in Division 2 today than they did, 5 days ago.
Oh, yeah. Pablo Torre is doing wonders for RFC at this point.
But that being said, I don't think there will be long-term ramifications unless something were to actually come out that was a true scandal. But I've talked to the front office. I've now talked to ownership. I've gotten their side of the story. And they tell me, and I've literally asked them point blank, like, if I'm going to continue to defend you, like, just tell me that you swear to me that you are on the up and up. And they've said, Matt, this is continue. We've made our statement. We're not going to release the public or the private investors. We've done nothing wrong. And we are a club that is on the up and up. And I, for what it counts for, I believe them. So you got to move on from there. What's the next question?
Taras M here says, was that the worst goal given up by RFC ever?
It's not fair because I didn't really think. I mean, you talk about all the goals ever conceded by this club, and weirdly enough, I remember the other Ronaldo Demus goal in the final where we were desperately trying to get back into the game. It was 2024.
But do you look at that
November.
more from us, from RFC, as an effort to try to get back into the game, whereas this was just a miscommunication between two players, and I don't know, maybe we'll decide here in a moment whose fault it was, but like this was kind of bad. I'm not
from a mistake and a given away goal. Yes, this is the worst. Have there been times where we've still compromised ourselves and where it looked uglier or the goal had more weight to it? Like I think back to the equalizer from a red-carded 10-man side Hartford in the Jägermeister Cup last year, and that goal shouldn't have happened either. To Ross, it just comes down to, if we're going by the technicality of the error, yes. But if we go by the weight, circumstance, and pomp, then I don't know. I feel like there's probably been some more goals that have hurt me more. But yes, by an error, this is absolutely the worst one. Ben S. writes in, was Stoneman studying Tim Ream film this week?
Oh, man.
Man, this is too soon, Ben. This is like, you talk about just what killed us in that Belgium game.
The first cut is the deepest.
It's rough.
Oh, man. Maybe he's been hanging out with Matt Freese a little bit. Did you see that in his return home to NYCFC? Hashtag not an MLS pod. They were booing him.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
So, I mean, some people see this as like, hey, soccer culture is like,
we're not here to love you and support you
into this team.
Sometimes
like, hey,
we
we're
need
not
you to
here
be
to
better.
coddle you.
Yeah.
Like, if you go onto the biggest stage and you represent our entire nation and you completely miss kick and give up a goal,
just keep it respectful. All right.
Yeah.
Don't be CF Montreal putting political chants
we don't talk about
national
that. Hashtag
players.
not a
Hashtag
Not
no.
a
There's no
Tom
hashtag.
Cruise podcast.
There's no hashtag. We're not even hashtagging that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, possibly. Alan P says here, are we back to hating Grant Stoneman? Silver lining, Jope is back.
All right. First off, we don't hate Grant Stoneman. We just think amongst the back line, he is the player with the most liability or the biggest area for improvement.
He's an experienced defender who has played many games in this league and has a good friendship with Koke, but he's
Khalifa Yao, better than Grant Stoneman.
Yeah.
Frank Nadarse, better than Grant Stoneman. Hamadi Jope, better than Grant Stoneman. It's not a circumstance where I hate Grant Stoneman. If people think that, I got to stop that right now. I just think that he is CB number 5, and that's okay because he's still a great player and he offers so much off the pitch. He offers so much beyond the 90 minutes that people don't understand unless they're covering this team. They're going to the practices, they're interacting. Grant Stoneman is a type of glue that you do not really understand what he offers and the contribution that is there unless you see it in person. It just goes so much more beyond what we see in a game.
I also don't think that this is the game for him. I do not think that he does well against
a speedy forward.
In a game where we have no worry about a team countering us hard, where we can control possession and he can be calm on the ball. And he is probably one of the best passers of our center backs, maybe outside of Jope.
Well, not that pass, that's for sure.
Not that one, but like it's the thing where you put him under pressure, and he struggles. But if he has time on the ball and he can make a decision to make a pass, like he's great at that.
So then let's talk about it. Was this sequence Stoneman's fault or Koke's fault? Because you could argue really both. You really could. I think more people are going to lean automatically to Grant Stoneman because with your spatial awareness, you making sure you understand the positioning of your teammates, he goes and heads a ball to where Koke Vegas is not. Now, Koke Vegas is the most ranged player as a keeper in this league. And so when I saw it, I was like, why did Koke attack that from a defensive position instead of drop back? And if so, was he in the right lane to prepare for that? I think this comes down to I don't really think any player is at fault. I think this comes down to a terrible miscommunication. If you have to assign like 51%, 49%, then it does go to Stoneman because he's the one that heads the ball in the wrong direction. But Koke is coming in on a lane that doesn't exist.
He's outside of his box. And at that point, you're like, is one speaking San Diegan, the other speaking Spanish?
But they both speak San Diegan because they played together on the Loyal. So, Jason, I'm going to make you do something that you are not prepared for. I mentioned this earlier in the night. I'm going to make you go Switzerland and actually make a decision here. Who's at fault for this? Is it Koke Vegas or Grant Stoneman?
Ooh, that's tough.
You get 5 seconds because we are on radio, my friend.
All right, I'm going to say Vegas because it's out of his box. I think
I can't wait to see if the listeners agree to that or not, because from what I've seen, there's the anti Grant Stoneman show right now.
You could either argue case though. I already picked my bet and I'll lay in it, but you could also argue that Grant Stoneman should know that Koke Vegas is never in his box and he should have just cleared it.
I love you arguing against yourself there.
Yeah.
That might be the best thing I've ever heard. Bob D asks, as someone who had a heart defibrillator implanted 2 weeks ago, am I jeopardizing my health watching RFC for the rest of the season, especially in the first half of every game? Is Bob gonna die, Jason?
Oh man, Bob, RFC cannot have blood on their hand, guys. You need to really lock it in. You have a good defense. You're better than this. Don't let Bob down here, okay? But also, Bob, go into every game just expecting that the worst is going to happen, and what's good.
Bob, maybe move your tickets to wherever the closest medical attention can be provided. There's like one ambulance squad there. Get to the seats where they can get there in less than 30 seconds versus being in the wrong time, wrong place. That's the best hope I've got.
RFC is not for the faint-hearted. Rachel M says, why can't we beat the teams in the basement? Because the basement is scary. That's why.
Who have you been into your basement lately, Rachel? Like, it's Those are terrifying places. You
Yeah,
just
especially
don't go
for
down
tall
there.
people. You can't even stand up straight.
Yeah, it's the worst. So I don't know. We dropped this narrative. We thought we were past this after we saw results against teams like Loudoun, after we thought we had seen some improvement, and we said, okay, that's not a real thing. Birmingham is open that can of worms wide open again, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So when we look at the teams that are left in
Never
the
been to
standings,
Alabama. Is it a scary place?
I mean, well, but hear me out. If you look right now, and obviously the table can change next week and the week after that, but if we were to look at the bottom of the basement now, Birmingham is done. We've played both games. That means Loudoun, we have one more game, and we talked about Loudoun as a boogeyman in the past. What does that mean? Hartford, our final game of the season, they're currently in the basement. They're underneath the playoff line. And then we've got Brooklyn, away to Brooklyn in October, and away to Sporting Jacks. So if you want me to tell you, are we going to beat these teams? I wish I could give you the most confident yes, but guess what? I can't. So that's up to Khano Smith, getting this team in a mental state and a performance state where they can put these types of matches away. Will S writes in, no, sorry, not Will S. I jumped. Joe P. Another opportunity lost for 3 points. As far as the Damas goal, that is the two-edged sword of having a goalkeeper come out off his line and a defender not communicating. These defensive mistakes,
So they're both wrong.
and not converting on chances might cost this side down the line. It sounds like Joe P doesn't believe that we're going to make the playoffs in terms of a home playoff berth.
I mean, after a match like this, it's hard to have that confidence.
Guys got to rally.
We look at this team, and I think we still believe that this is a playoff team. But these are
Not
moments.
if that's what continues to happen. I say that with a caveat. If they make these types of mistakes and they do not convert on the chances they get,
the basement is scary, but at the end of the day, they're still in the basement.
I hear you. I agree with Joe. If we continue to make mistakes and then we do not have the offensive overcorrection where you make a mistake like that, but you're up 2 goals, you still win the game. That's fine. If we can't find a way to finish and put goals on frame, and then we make a silly mistake, a stupid mistake like this, yeah, this could cost us additional points down the way.
I mean, leading right into that, Eric N says, how should we feel about getting a home playoff spot when we can't knock out crappy opponents?
So for the record, he didn't write crappy in the in the comment. I had to G rating that. So again, reminder for those of you out there, please write with the level of not swearing. Eric, you're not wrong. I don't know how we do that. We were sitting in 6th yesterday thinking a win could have us knocking on the door of a 4th place opportunity, and now we're back down a position. That's the nature of the table. We're going to really have to watch and focus on these Brooklyn, Loudoun, and Sporting Jacks games. If we cannot get 9 points,
we do
out of
not
that,
have an easy schedule the rest of the year.
we don't. But if we can't get 9 points out of those particular teams, then there's no home playoff. Like amongst all the other results we need to get to stay competitive and stay in this, if we do not get results against Brooklyn, Sporting Jacks, and Loudoun, this season will not see a home playoff berth for Rhode Island FC. Will S writes in, my theory is, I love, oh my gosh.
I
gotta reset. Will Smith.
Will Smith?
Not Will Smith. Will S. Maybe his last name is Smith.
It could be him.
Will S writes in, my theory is Khano let Jay Heaps win both of these games because if Heaps doesn't succeed this season, Khano's former teammate and the guy who gave him his first shot in the USL Championship will get sacked. Prove me wrong. Is this just collusion at the highest level?
This is some 4D underwater basket weaving to the next dimension. I never even
in a weird way. Will is not wrong that Jay Heaps will probably lose his job if they don't make the playoffs. He's probably not wrong about it because remember, he didn't hire a new head coach. He got Briggs in. Briggs left.
I'm the head coach.
And he
now.
said, I'm going to do this myself. If he doesn't get a result, ownership is probably giving him the boot at the end of the season. There's not nothing. I mean, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard, but it's not nothing to say that Jay Heaps might be getting a bone here from Khano Smith. It's so dumb. I love it. Will, please continue with these theories. I don't mean to
I love this take. It's so much fun. And maybe one day we'll figure it out if it's true or not.
We'll put it in the memoirs, Will.
We'll put it in the yeah. Put in the memoirs.
Wait, do you think anywhere at the end of the day, Jay Heaps at least went up to Khano at the end of the game? He's like, thanks, buddy. Thanks for saving my career. And Khano was like, I didn't mean to do that, but also, you're welcome, buddy.
I mean, I don't expect any level of, match fixing, if you will, at this level. Like, it's just not what I expect here. But it could be hilarious if this is something that comes out in a memoir in 20 years. Stacey L says, Kevin Vang appearance. It's great to see, but a reminder of how thin we are. Would the guy from New England have made a difference if he had been available? Guy from New England. Who is she talking about here?
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how these work. Sometimes I'm not sure. I just copy and paste them in from the email. I can only assume that she's meaning Foyo.
Froyo?
Oh yeah, the new guy from England. The new guy from England, not the New England guy.
Okay.
The new guy from England, Foyo. Yeah. So I don't. Who is that? Stacey. When you start asking the what ifs of like, could this player who didn't play for us today have made an impact? That's a really hard sell. Our attack wasn't lacking on the night. Our finishing was, and we don't really. We haven't seen what Foyo has in his locker to say would that have been an X factor on the night. Could he have been a better swap for Noah Fuson? Maybe, because I think he would arguably have a much higher ceiling than Kevin Vang. But I don't know if we would have gotten a draw dragged back out of this from Foyo making an appearance. I think we need Foyo in this team as fast as possible, but I don't necessarily know that like we can argue that the result would have changed all if Foyo had made an appearance.
Yeah, and the thing I would argue against that is that we put in a new player that we did have available to us in Sukata, but ultimately that did not do anything for us in that regards. So I don't know if I'd put too much stock into that outside of the fact that this should have just been a 0-0 draw where we take our point and move on. But defensive lapse, despite being a very strong defensive team, have cost us again.
Can't make those mistakes. Brad K, why are we so stacked with attacking options all of a sudden when we have holes in the midfield and defense? What is Khano doing?
I'd say you cannot plan for injuries
or going on to MLS
or players moving on to MLS. I look at this team and think that we probably only at this point, like, we need what? Midfielder. And I think that's it. I do not see another defender because CJ Williams sat on the bench.
That's true.
And we saw him.
Bacharach and we have Haribo who could moonlight there.
And
so
yeah. And both of those players can
if we find a good defender, though, go get him.
Absolutely. If you have the opportunity
if there's an Ame Mabika out there, in fact, what is Ame Mabika even doing?
Someone give him a ring.
Anyways, I think you're right. I think it's a midfielder at this point. I think we need another holding midfielder or the best 10 that this league has ever seen and go from there. I think you're spot on with that. Do you disagree in any way, shape, or form?
No, I honestly, that's the move. That's all we need. Grab ourselves a midfielder, move on to the second half, use some sort of senzu beans on players, get them healed up and move on. And we go into that second half. Curtis D says, did the weather delay mess us up?
It's hard. So it's really hard because
they got an extra day of rest after having a long week because they had to travel to Louisville midweek. And they also had played a game on Saturday. Birmingham got an extra day of rest.
I looked at that question more as
I don't know if that's enough to give them the edge.
I looked at it more of does Rhode Island, they're ready to play, it gets canceled, and then they're stuck in another night of hotel away from their family, their loved ones. Does that mess up some sort of soccer circadian rhythm?
Did they not get good enough sleep in the hotel room where they showed up rested?
Because the thunderstorms kept them up all night, right? It's a fair question, Curtis.
Down there, it's gross.
It's a fair question. I don't think these players at a professional level are that imbalanced by it. I think it does mess with them to a certain extent, but you could then argue Birmingham got the same disruption, even though they got an extra day of rest and recovery. I mean, they were still out there then.
They still have to live in
conditioning.
Birmingham, Alabama. You know,
We're not. This is not a shade.
J.K.
on,
Kaler Hodges.
We're not
I'm
throwing
joking.
shade on Birmingham tonight. All right, Clay Holstead and JJ. Well, no, JJ is New Mexico into Birmingham. We're not throwing shade on Birmingham Legion. Magic City is Magic City. Jason, we're not going to cross that line tonight, okay, buddy? Kyle K writes in the final question of the night: worst loss of the season. Stupid giveaway. Stupid goal. Stupid way to give up 2 points. This should have been a 0-0 result.
I mean, you're not wrong, Kyle. I mean, like, I don't really know any other way to look at this. I think this is one of those games where we've tried to talk to Khano about, like, what do you do after a game like this, right?
You don't lose the next one. That's what you don't do.
Yeah, you don't lose the next one, but like he loves to tell us that, like, you have to just shake it off and move on. Like, you have to have that short-term memory. You forget what happened next weekend. You move on. You remember the earlier parts in the season when we've done well, and you just train and you move on. And I think that's realistically all that this team can do right now. We are still in playoff contention. Realistically, this team is still a playoff team. It's just, can we build that momentum to move farther into the season to be a top four? That light at the end of the tunnel is starting to get smaller, but it's not completely gone. This team is still a good team. They just need to lock in.
Get their act together.
Get their act together.
Reminder, you can get questions in to us on any of the channels we have. Email raisinganchorpodcast@gmail.com. You can send it to just the DMs. We get most of them through DMs on like Instagram and Twitter. Discord too, for those that have been following the show since day one. But always feel free to communicate any way that you can find us. Some people now have my cell phone and they just text the questions directly to me. I'd probably prefer that one a little less, guys. You know who you are. If it's official, if you're just talking shop, like talk shop. But if you're asking for questions, I don't know that those always like connect the dots later when we put those into the show. But nevertheless, it's not a fun result, but we move on and we prepare for the real revenge arc, Jason, which is Colorado Springs Switchbacks on the weekend this Saturday, and yet probably what will be another rainy game. Maybe it doesn't happen because of these thunderstorms, but that's another couple days out before we can make that guesstimate. But let's get out of here and we'll figure things out on the Thursday show.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Anchors up.
Anchors up.
You've been listening to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. You can follow the show on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast and at Raising Anchor on Instagram. And be sure to check out and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen by searching for Raising Anchor. Make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RAFC news at theblazingmusket.com. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask you to be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the show. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm your main man, Juju, and on behalf of the Raising Anchor crew, goodbye for now. And as always, we are Rhode Island FC.